Today's presentation is dealing with should African Americans celebrate Black History Month. So some of the things we're going to deal with the origins of Black History Month. How many people know the origins of Black History Month before you saw it this morning on TV? If you know the origins of Black History Month, raise your hand. Oh, it's a good thing you can. Okay. All right. So we're going to deal with why Black History Month was created, what we need to do to make it relevant today. Okay? Not 100 years ago, but make it relevant today and for the future. Also dispel some myths regarding our history as well. Okay? And some other things I'm going to get into. Whenever I do presentations, I know I'm going to cover some things that some people may have never heard before. I may cover some things, I may say some things that people don't like. All right, so I always start out with this. I learned this from one of my teachers, Dr. Ray Higgins. Anybody familiar with Dr. Ray Higgins? Okay. He was, I just interviewed him January 31st, actually, on our show. So I usually have people put their fingers together to form a circle, and I usually say something like this. The space inside this circle represents my realm of knowledge. Everything that I think I know about whatever I think I know is represented within the circumference of this circle. I must keep in mind that there are still things to know that exist outside the circumference of my own awareness. All right, now the reason why I say that is because oftentimes when people hear something that contradicts what they've been taught, what they believe, or what they think they know, they automatically reject it without doing any research to determine the validity of the new information that they're learning. Okay? And at the same time, they usually don't use that same level of scrutiny to analyze, critique, or reevaluate what it is that they believe or think they already know. Okay, so just because you know everything that you know doesn't mean you know everything that is to know about what you know. All right, so just like let people know that. And also we have to keep in mind that everything you know right now at some point was new to you. Okay, just because it was new to you does not mean it didn't exist. All right, okay, everybody understand that?
Yes.
Okay. Now, two reasons why I do these presentations. It takes a lot of research to do these. I was putting this presentation together up until 12 o'clock today. Okay, because I've done this presentation before, but I'm always changing things around, adding more information, things like this as new information comes down. So, two reasons why I do these. Number one, to make you think. If I can make you think, then you start asking questions. You start asking questions, you start seeking out answers. Okay? Number two, to provide you with the information, the history, the sources, books, websites, articles, etc., for you to do your own research. And whenever I do my presentations, when I do my show, I tell people, don't take my word for this, go do your own research. That's why I present you with the sources. So hopefully you brought pen and pad today, because you're going to get a lot of information. You can get website links, things like this, and we are online, so I'm going to show you some website pages also. Especially when we get to the information dealing with Scipio Africanus. How many people familiar with this brother here, Dr. David Imhotep? No relation to me. Some people ask, is that your daddy? No, that's not my father. Now, we did have him here at Nandy's Knowledge Cafe back in October, I think it was, during a lecture here. He's the author of this groundbreaking book, The First Americans Were Africans, Documented Evidence. Came out in 2010. He has 713 footnotes in here, thoroughly documenting the African presence in the Americas, going back 51,700 years in America and 56,000 years in the Americas, starting in South America. Okay, he holds the first ever PhD in ancient African history, and the reason why he got a PhD in ancient African history is to be able to deal with entities like the History Channel, National Geographic, and those European scholars who put out misinformation about African history. Okay, so he'll have the credentials and can actually deal with them on an academic level and prove them wrong. And if you go to his website, www.historictruth.info, he has a 2-page abstract that you can download. And I think I have it with me because I was just looking at it the other day. I was on Mason's show Friday, I was on Angela Henderson's show Thursday, and I had it with me, and I have so many notes. So, oh, here it is right here. Yeah, you can download this. This is free. It's a 2-page. It gives you an overview of his book, okay? But he wrote a response to a, let's see if I can find it here. He wrote a response to a piece that National Geographic did. And let me just share this with you quickly. It says, one of Dr. Imhotep's primary reasons for wanting a PhD in ancient African history was to secure the credentials needed to fight white supremacy in academia. Dr. Imhotep's first attack on white supremacy in academia began with editorial rebuttals to Eurocentric articles that appeared in Atlantis Rising magazine, as well as a response to National Geographic's The Black Pharaohs in the February 2008 issue, correcting them on the African ancestry of all pharaohs until the Greek Ptolemies. Okay? His latest completed work is an article on the African Aqualithic, just accepted by the Journal of Black Studies. Okay, so he wanted to have those credentials to deal with them on that level because they put out a lot of misinformation. Now, there are some good things like on the History Channel, things like that. But a lot of that stuff, especially when they deal with the ethnicity of these ancient people, is totally inaccurate. Okay, they did a fantastic, because I watched some of their documentaries. I use them as sources, things like that. They have some good information, but some things I have to call them on. They did a multi-part series on the barbarians, the whole history of barbarians, these Germanic people, the Visigoths, the Vandals, the Anglos, the Saxons, the Lombards, the Jutes, all these Europeans, the Franks, okay? And when they get to the 8th century, 711 AD, they show the Moors riding in on horseback into the Iberian Peninsula, which is today Spain and Portugal. They showed these as Arabs, light-skinned Arabs riding in, when these were dark-skinned African people, okay? But they don't want to show you that. And what's happened is the word Moor has become synonymous with Muslim, and Muslim is synonymous with Arab. But all Muslims are not Arabs. You have people of all ethnicities who are Muslims, okay? But if they can make you think that Muslim means Arab, then when they show you Moor, you don't know that they're talking about African people, okay? So, as Dr. Jose Clemente Bay, who's one of the baddest scholars on the history of the Moors, especially in medieval time, he said, if you don't know the names that your people have had throughout history, you won't know how to find yourself in history. Page 14 of his book, he gives just a breakdown of the type of evidence of the African presence 51,700 years ago in the territory known as South Carolina. Artifacts, architecture, campsites, carvings, Egyptian writings, the metal netter, what Greeks call hieroglyphics, footprints in lava, genetic M174 and D haploid groups, so we're dealing with genetics, DNA, things like that, linguistics, paintings, skulls, skeletons, structures, and tools. Okay, that's just a synopsis of the type of information that's in his book, the documentation. All right, he has 713 footnotes thoroughly documenting what he's talking about, and I've told him personally. I've interviewed him 4 times, maybe 5 on my show. I've told him personally. I said this book single-handedly can destroy European white supremacy. This comes from, I did a presentation here, and I have it on DVD also. Should African Americans celebrate European holidays? The history of Christmas. This is a picture of the national flag of Corsica, which is a French island in the Mediterranean. This is a picture of the national flag of Sardinia, which is an Italian island in the Mediterranean. Their national flags both have African people on their flag, okay, Moors heads. You can go to answers.com, type in Corsica, and scroll down. It'll come up and show you this national flag. This is today, not 100 years ago, this is today. Originally, what happened, now Moors were in this area, okay, and it took a monumental effort for them to be defeated. Because Moors were fierce warriors. It took a monumental effort for them to be defeated. Originally, on these flags, the blindfold, the headband is here, it was over their eyes as a blindfold, signifying that they had been captured, they were prisoners, okay? But as time goes on, they want to be more politically correct, things like that, and also Sardinia, even though it's a very racist island, it's a tourist attraction. So, to be more euphemistic and politically correct, they make it a headband as opposed to a blindfold, okay? But if you look at some old depictions of it, you'll see it as a blindfold. One of the problems that I have is when we feel the need to validate our history by interjecting it into European history. So we have to say black history is American history. But wait a second, who was here first? Why do we feel the need to have our history validated by interjecting it into European history? Okay. See, when you empower yourself with this information, then you can have a paradigm shift, and then you can ask the question as opposed to answering the question. And you can frame the way the question is answered. For those that don't know, this is Dr. Carter G. Woodson. He was known as the father of black history, and also the father of Black History Month as well. All right. for, let's see here. So some little information on Dr. Carter G. Woodson. I'm always surprised how many people don't know the history of Black History Month, which explains some of the celebrations that I see of. Okay, I'm going to get into that in a minute, all right? But he was born in 1875. He was born to parents who were former slaves. He was born 10 years after slavery ended. Okay, something very, very important to note. He was born in Virginia. He starts high school at the age of 19 years old, okay? He works in coal mines and works on the family's farm. He completes 2 years of high school. He completes 4 years of high school in 2 years, okay, and graduates. And they realize he's very brilliant, okay? He graduates from Berea College, which is in Kentucky. Berea was founded, anybody familiar with Berea College? Okay, that's where Dr. Jose Clemente Bay teaches now, all right? It's in Kentucky. They were founded in 1855. And at this time here, he gets a Bachelor's of Literature in 1903 from Berea. But at the time, they're one of the few colleges that have an integrated classroom. Okay, Berea College. Year after he graduates, they changed that. They institute what were called the Days Laws and didn't allow African Americans into the school until years later. All right. 1905, he becomes a General Superintendent of Education in Manila, Philippines. His brother was fluent in French and English as well. I mean, French and Spanish as well. Of course, English, but French and Spanish. He gets a job with the U.S. Bureau of Insular Affairs, and he taught English, health, and agriculture in the Philippines. Okay. He also traveled. He resigned from that position in 1907 due to health reasons, and then he traveled to Asia, North Africa, and Europe also. All right. Now, he comes back to the U.S. And in 1907, thanks for coming back. He comes back to the U.S. In 1907. He goes to enroll at the University of Chicago for his master's. The University of Chicago does not recognize his undergraduate degree from Berea College. Okay? I've looked at numerous sources on this, and I have not been able to find out why they did not recognize his bachelor's from Berea College. I suspect because it was one of the colleges that had an integrated classroom. I suspect that. I can't prove that, but I have a sneaky suspicion that's why. So, he does a bachelor's all over again. Completes his bachelor's in 1 year and goes on and completes his master's in 1 year. So he gets a master's in 1908 from University of Chicago. Okay. He goes on to teach in Washington, D.C. at Frederick Douglass High School, another high school in Washington, D.C. And he teaches in high school from 1909 to 1919. Okay. Let's see. In 1912, he earns a PhD from Harvard University. He gets a PhD in history from Harvard University. Okay. He becomes the first person of African slave descent in the U.S. to get a PhD from Harvard. Second person of African descent to get a PhD from Harvard. The first was Dr. W.B. Du Bois, 1895. Keep in mind, Dr. W.B. Du Bois was born to free parents. He didn't come from slave ancestry. Okay. All right. Now, 1915, he attends a 3-week celebration commemorating the 50th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation. Okay, so we know we just had the 150th anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, January 1st, and people were teary-eyed. They had a national tour, taking it around so people could read it. Have you ever read the Emancipation Proclamation? We're gonna get to that later on. But has anybody ever read it? No. Oh my God. Okay. Ooh, it's a good thing you came today. All right. So he attends a 3-week celebration for the Emancipation Proclamation. They have all types of exhibits, things like this, and it's showing the progress that African Americans have made from the end of slavery up until this point, 1915. Okay, and it's while he's at this convention that he gets the idea to start the Association for the Study of Negro Life and History, because he felt that we need to have an organization that's dedicated to the scientific study and preservation of African American history, but also African history as well. A lot of people leave out the African part. And when you see some of these celebrations dealing with Black History Month, a lot of them just totally leave out the African part. They haven't studied Dr. Carter G. Woodson and why Black History Month and Negro History Week was created. All right, now, so like I said, decides to create an organization to promote the scientific study of black life and history.